An innocent trip from Heiligenkreuz in the Tyrol to Innsbruck in the autumn of 1612 brought a shock to Adam Hasselmayr, musician, theosopher, medical celebrity, and notary public to the Archduke Maximilian. On the orders of the Jesuit Inquisitor Hippolyte Guarinoni, Hasselmayr was arrested and sentenced to slavery on the Mediterranean galleys. Why? During the previous March, Adam Hasselmayr had published his answer to a manuscript called the Fama Fraternitatis, the Fame of the Fraternity. The Fama had been privately distributed to persons with, it was hoped, a sympathetic interest in the advancement of science and religion in a corrupt society. The Fama Fraternitatis announced the existence of a discreet fraternity founded in the late Middle Ages by a German nobleman, Brother C.R. Dissatisfied with monastic life, the youth had travelled to the east in search of wisdom. Finding himself welcomed as one long expected by the sages of Damcar in Arabia, he translated their masterpiece on the mathematical and magical universe into Latin. Frater C.R. observed how the savants shared their knowledge without jealousy, hypocrisy, or egoism. Longing to share his discoveries with Europe, Brother C.R. made his way home to Germany. But Brother C.R. found only hostility and indifference. The good folk of Europe, and especially Germany, had other things on their minds. The union of religion and science in a spiritual quest for the exact nature and truth of things visible and invisible was not one of them. So Frater C.R. established a fraternity of sympathetic brethren, the Fratres R.C., who met annually in secret in their House of the Holy Spirit to further a total reformation of knowledge. So why communicate now? In their Fama, the Fratres R.C. claimed to have been stirred by the discovery of Frater C.R.'s body, whole and unconsumed, in an extraordinary vault in Gallia Narbonensis, that is to say, in Languedoc in the south of France. Constructed as a compendium of the universe, an inscription on the vault's door accurately predicted the time, 120 years, between burial and discovery. The Fama lays out the new scene, a new promise for mankind.
Seeing the only wise and merciful God in these latter days hath poured out so richly his mercy and goodness to mankind, whereby we do attain more and more to the perfect knowledge of his Son, Jesus Christ, and of nature, and moreover hath raised men, imbued with great wisdom, who might partly renew and reduce all arts to perfection, so that finally man might thereby understand his own nobility and worth, and why he is called microcosmos, and how far his knowledge extendeth into nature.
Great advances in science testified to the fraternity's work. The brethren now wished to hear the sincere responses of all who wished to join. Judging from his printed response of March 1612, Adam Hasselmayr was particularly moved by the Fama's consistency with the ideas of the greatest and most controversial medical doctor of the age. Paracelsus, who had died 70 years before, introduced chemistry to medicine, believed in the virtue of experiment, had more faith in the book of nature than received paper authority, got his hands dirty, and tirelessly fulminated against all those who could spout but could not cure. This is all well known. What is far less known is that Paracelsus, inspired by the Hermetic tradition, also wrote a great deal on the subject of religion. Kept secret in his lifetime, these volumes, and those added to them by his followers, would become time bombs after his death. Paracelsus held to a Gnostic cosmogony. Man was a microcosm of the universe, but the spirit that giveth life was generally trapped in gross matter. Paracelsus had no time for the Mauerkirche, the external church of stone, but believed in the church of spirit, the inner word. As his follower Haselmayer put it, God does not need bishops or professors to tell him where to go, what to do, or to whom he should speak. Paracelsus's own middle name, Theophrastus, means God speaker or God expounder, and he lived up to his name. Followers such as Haselmayer took it as the name for a new religion, which he called the Theophrastia Sancta, or religion of the two lights. The light of grace and the light of nature. Follow the divine signatures in nature, and a harmony invisible to the disharmonious mind would appear. Paracelsus prophesied a coming golden age of grace. The Magi were returning. What Haselmayer read in the Farmer chimed in with the Paracelsian bell. In his enthusiastic Antwort of March 1612, he thanked the Brethren of the Rose Cross for their divine gift and Theophrastiam. He also outraged Jesuit Inquisitor Hippolyte Guarinoni when he declared the Rose Cross Brothers to be the real Society of Jesus. In Germany's Saxon-Anhalt region stands a castle at a place called Plötzkau. In December 1611, the youngest of 3 princes of Anhalt, based at Schloss Plötzkau near Magdeburg, became the first known person to try to contact the Fratres RC. This man was Prince Augustus von Anhalt, a serious enthusiast of the alchemical quest. This we know thanks to the peerless work of Spanish scholar Carlos Gili. During the 1980s, Gili discovered correspondence sent by Prince Augustus to the Augsburg physician and alchemist Karl Wiedemann. I have taken the time to read and read again Herr Haselmayer's answer to the farmer. I have considered it, and in God's name taken it to heart, and found it to be an outstandingly good work, in which Herr Haselmayer has undertaken to promote the farmer, and to intimate that it should be published. Augustus, dedicated to transmutation, respected Wiedemann's alchemical skills. Between 1587 and 1588, Wiedemann had been secretary to British alchemist Edward Kelly in Prague. Kelly had also for a long time been the seer in the spiritual experiments of the world-famous British mathematician, astrologer and natural scientist, Dr. John Dee. This is Dee's symbol for cosmic unity. For years, Karl Wiedemann had been collecting the red-hot theological writings of Paracelsus, as well as those of the so-called radical spiritual reformers. Men such as the Knight of Ossig in Silesia, Caspar Schwenkfeld, who was born to a life of conflict and rejection in 1489. And Valentin Weigel, whose name would be taken to describe the spiritual followers of Paracelsus, the so-called Weigelian heretics. Valentin Weigel, whose name would be taken to describe the spiritual followers of Paracelsus, the so-called Weigelian heretics. These works of alchemico-spiritual Christosophy scandalized the closed worlds of all the proponents of authoritarian religion in the 16th century, whether Catholic or Protestant. They attempted to describe the way God and Christ actually operated in the cosmos and in the soul, or at least as much as was open to spiritually enlightened human understanding. Furthermore, Wiedemann shared Adam Haselmayer's understanding of the Theophrastia Sancta as being, in Carlos Gili's words, a sort of perpetual religion, which since the days of the apostles had been practiced in concealment until the time when the German Trismegistus, Paracelsus, began publicly to expound its meaning. In summer 1611, Wiedemann encouraged Prince Augustus von Anhalt to offer Hasselmayer the task of assembling Theophrastian texts for the prince's secret printing press at Plötzkau. In December, Augustus received a New Year's present from Hasselmayer, copies of both The Farmer and his response to it. Reading it and rereading it, Augustus was deeply hooked. This is the room where Augustus's library used to be kept. It is said he liked to read in his little window seat. Perhaps this is where he first read the Farmer Fraternitatis. In this letter, Augustus asked Karl Wiedemann how he might obtain the farmer's promised follow-up, the Confessio. Wiedemann knew the farmer had come from the house of one Tobias Hess in Tübingen, but inquiries yielded nothing. Back in the Tyrol in August 1612, Adam Hasselmayer, keen to please Prince Augustus, tried another approach. In this letter, he requested permission from Archduke Maximilian of the Tyrol to go to Montpellier in Languedoc to search for the Fratres RC. Thanks to Jesuit Inquisitor Hippolyte Guarinoni, Hasselmayer never reached Languedoc. For 5 terrible years he suffered in the galleys, with only John Dee's magical hieroglyph for company, until the last light. If there ever was a real Rosicrucian fraternity, the nearest one might get to it would be to understand the common and complementary elements of mind subsisting between the following 3 brilliant friends of Tübingen. Dr. Tobias Hess, born in 1568, the eldest of the 3, Christoph Bezold, who gained the chair of jurisprudence at Tübingen in 1610, and perhaps not only the youngest but the greatest of the 3, Johann Valentin Andrei, born in Herrenberg in 1586. To their amazingly fertile relationship, Bezold brought a powerful knowledge of medieval mysticism and of Hermetic philosophy. Hess brought a profound knowledge of theology, Paracelsian medicine, mathematics, astronomy, astrology, numerology, and of apocalyptic symbolism. Andrei brought forth from his Lutheran family background and dreamy childhood a genius soaked in classical literature, a dazzling knowledge of alchemical philosophy, and a full knowledge of the Renaissance Gnostic Platonism of Pico della Mirandola and of the infinite universe revealed by Giordano Bruno. Andrei was also deeply acquainted with the spiritual Christianity of Sebastian Frank, Schwenkfeld, Weigel, and Paracelsus. Andrei was also a highly gifted dramatist, an intellectual with a staggeringly explosive sense of humor. The Farmer overflows with Andrei's wizened irony and pristine spirituality, while its soul breathes the air of the youthful idealist, crying out through a lugubrious allegory for a reform of the entire knowledge base of Western Europe. Andrei demands a place and people undivided by confessional differences, dedicated to pursuing the light of nature in the light of grace, on the cornerstone of the Christ who says, and is always saying, the truth will make you free. The trouble was that almost nobody knew that Andrei was the author. The text, as we have seen from the case of Augustus von Anhalt, was taken literally. After his committal to the galleys, Hasselmayer's manuscripts, including a copy of The Farmer, had been entrusted to the Theophrastian believer Benedictus Figulus, a man later described by Andrei as a globe-trotter and a charlatan. Subject to an arrest warrant at Freiburg, Figulus proceeded to globe-trot 150 miles north to Marburg in Hesse-Kassel. There he deposited Hasselmayer's manuscripts at the home of Raphael Erglin, author of Er Famosis Mundi and other works. Eglin was an alchemist patronized by the Landgrave Moritz von Hessen, based at Kassel. Kassel was the base of the printer Wilhelm Wessel. In March 1614, Wessel printed the Fama Fraternitatis. The collection included Haselmayer's answer to the Fama, as well as an account of his fate at the hands of the Jesuits. Significantly, the publication also included the work The General Reformation of the Whole Wide World. This was a humorous extract from Traiano Boccolini's satirical News from Parnassus, hot from the liberal and politically threatened Venetian Republic. Its appearance ensured the Fama was immediately linked to an itinerary of global reformation. The greatest publicity stunt of all time had begun. This is Johann Valentin Andrei, a German satirist, poet and theologian. Around the year 1610, he and his friends had a dream.
It was a dream. It was a dream they had. A community of knowledge, above time, across space. A dream. A scientific community of human interest, beyond the state, beyond the worldly church. A dream of the free, waiting for a better time, a better place. An eternal body, never existed, ever existing. Dream your way to membership, an imaginary world, from the past to the future.
The Fratres RC live about Strasbourg, 7 miles from thence, in a monastery. This is a cipher note made by Hermetic philosopher and astrologer Elias Ashmole during the early 1650s. Ashmole wanted to join the Rosicrucian Brotherhood. In fact, there were no Fratres RC anywhere. But for nearly a decade after the printing of the Fama Fraternitatis by Wilhelm Wessel in 1614, a battle of the books convinced thousands of European scholars and pundits that there were. Flames of interest and excitement were further fanned by the appearance of the Fama's follow-up, the Confessio Fraternitatis, the Confession of the Fraternity, in 1615.